Unlocking the Life You Were Meant to Lead, the Fifth Avenue Underground Way. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Futurist Mindset Show. My name is Tessa, and I'm here to introduce you to your host, Reagan Rodriguez. Reagan is a futurist who teaches stratosphere wealthy legacy families how to become impact investors. Hi, Reagan. How are you?
I am doing better than I deserve. How about yourself?
Same. I'm doing better than I deserve as well. but doing amazing. And I know I'm excited to hear how we can unlock the life we were meant to lead. I think we all want to do that.
We were talking a little bit earlier, and I mentioned that I have 8 points that I want to go over. And what you don't know is that I actually had 5 points to this talk. And then from there, I've had 4 different conversations. 5 plus 3 is 8. I really have had 4 conversations, but 3 of those had me add something. And so, as I mentioned to you at the beginning, I didn't want to tell you what they are. I don't want to manufacture what to say. And I said, these are the 8 points I'm going to go over. And then if there's any questions that you have on any of them, and again, as I mentioned to you, Tessa, I wasn't going to tell you which ones, whatever it is that jumps out, maybe talk a little on that or say, Regan, I thought they were going to be this. Can you expand more on that? Because chances are, if you thought it, then others are. Mm-hmm. So what I thought I'd do is maybe I'll go over all 8. Mm-hmm. If you're listening to this, write them down. And I'm curious what you would think, or for your own benefit, what you think they are compared to what I'm going to go over. So step 1, I have a little bit of notes here. The power of cutting ties. 2, build the environment before you build the empire. I'll get into why that's important. 3, weaponize disappointment. 4, architect the life you actually want. 5, make progress visible, or you'll think you're stuck, right? 6, and this one came to me because I got a call yesterday from somebody that wants to work with me. And he said, Regan, here's why I'd be an asset for you to hire me. All I do in my spare time is either listen to educational podcasts or YouTube videos. Let me tell you he didn't say, let me tell you all the great knowledge I have, but that's what he was kind of saying. And then he says, any advice? I said, yes. I think you need to kill your edutainment. So I'll get into that later. I knew you'd laugh on that because you're not one to sit and watch something for 5 hours. You take action. 7, quietly outgrow your circle. Let me get into that later because I know you love people and you're thinking, does that mean he's going to tell me to make a friends inventory? Kind of, but not really. And then step 8, something that I know how to do real well. And that's say no. You're going to have to say no. Learn how to say no. And I think we're good with this. So let me kind of get started here.
Perfect.
Okay. So if you've been feeling stuck and you're endlessly scrolling, you've got distractions, maybe you're watching that big vision of yours slip away. Well, let me tell you this. You're not broken. What happens is maybe you're not plugged into the right system. Maybe you just need to be in that right circle, or maybe you need that right mentor. That's where everything changes. This is what I teach at the Underground Club. This is what I teach my clients, right? We don't fix people. We're going to help build that version of you, right? To learn how to exit and to then scale. That part of you that doesn't need another webinar. You need a war map. So if you're ready to cut ties to that version of yourself that's been playing small, This is where it all begins. Okay, step one, as I mentioned, the power of cutting ties. That Latin word of decision is decidere, to cut off. That if you truly made a decision to become someone new, then that old you, it needs to no longer exist because you're no longer trying anymore. You've already crossed that threshold. What I'm going to teach you is inside the Underground Club, we don't ask people, what are you hoping to do? I instead ask them, who have you decided to become? Because once you're in, we don't play in those hypotheticals. We instead are going to architect outcomes. The day you join is the day that old version of you is going to now lose access to that future. Okay, step two, build the environment before you build the empire. If you're still doom scrolling with your phone, your phone's not your drug dealer. Okay, set the limit and have some friction against that old self. Maybe a mental framework you can do as external tools to protect that momentum is what I help people do. And I teach people you don't need to change everything, just the variables that then will change everything. The Underground Club members, we had somebody recently join, his name is Eric, and I told him, I want you to operate under a protected environment. I don't want you to sabotage anything by default. Step three, weaponize disappointment. I had a cup of coffee with someone earlier today, and I said to him, you're not mad because you failed. You're mad because I know that you're capable of, and you know you're capable of it, and you're not living it. See, most people, they medicate that feeling with memes or motivational quotes. And we don't do that. If you're working with me and you are part of our Underground Club, we're going to use that discomfort as now rocket fuel. Your greatness demands that confrontation. I'm not going to allow you to hide around those soft affirmations. You need to be dominating your space. Step four, architect the life that you actually want. And I'm going to teach you how to do that inside the Underground Club. Why? Because clarity is the currency. I'm going to help you map what your business, wealth, network, and what you'd like your lifestyle to look like 5 years from now. And then let's reverse engineer every asset, every partner acquisition, and every system to then make it real. No more vague goals. We are building you the after picture. That after picture, one sharp move at a time. Step five, I want you to make progress visible. I don't want you being stuck. I want you having momentum. Inside the Underground Club, our members, they track what matters. Equity acquired, monthly cash flow, growth benchmarks, and then what that exit readiness is. We're not going to just build dashboards. We're going to build dashboards that are going to make you dangerous. And then step six, kill that edutainment. I knew you'd like that one, Tessa. Stop watching YouTube videos that make you feel smart because they don't make you money. What I'm going to teach you and what I mentioned to this young man is I said, stop consuming. You're not going to consume with us. We're going to create action loops. You're going to watch module. You're going to then make a move. You're going to learn a tactic. And we're going to close the deal. You do not get credit for studying. You get credit for stacking. Step seven, quietly outgrow your circle. There's no need to burn bridges. I did not say that. What I am saying is let's build a jet that is so high that people that still are going to be arguing about the runway. I want you to develop a new circle, and that circle is going to speak your language. I want you to leverage equity, off-market deals, seller-financed acquisitions. Your old friends are not going to get it, and that's okay. Step 8. Say no like I do. That's what I'm going to say. Say no like I do. I sat down with someone today for lunch that is really busy, and I said, you need to learn to say no in the same way that I do, ruthlessly, but without an apology, because every yes to a distraction is a no to your empire. What I'm saying right now, this isn't a talk. This is an encrypted transmission to the future version of you that already knows that you are meant for more. I'd like your next move to not be to think about it, but to join the Fifth Avenue Underground Club and step into the room where deals happen, capital flows, and legacies are written. Here's what I've noticed in my life. Doors don't open forever, but they do open for those who decide. So this is my way of welcoming you to what's next. So, Tessa, you might have a question or two, anything that I went over you want to mention. There's something I thought of. I'm going to open my laptop here, but go ahead. I can do two things at once.
You mentioned it several times. This is doing, this is deciding, and this is taking action. And you talked about the actual meaning of decision, and that it means decision is, the Latin word is to cut off, which I think is amazing. I never knew that before, but I do.
You know what the Latin word for responsibility is? The ability to respond.
There you go.
So when I tell people, let's take some responsibility, what is your ability to respond? Go ahead, though. I cut you off.
Oh, no, that's good. Well, it's very fascinating to me, because it does, to succeed, you're going to have to be able to make decisions, and strategic decisions that fast, like to join the Fifth Avenue Underground Club is one big decision, but then all the decisions you make are how you stack your success, like you said. So I just found that really fascinating. I know that's a huge part of the Fifth Avenue, Underground Club, is to be able to have that resource of people around you that you can make decisions that help you to get those decisions, to think through them. So I wanted to just mention that I thought that was a very cool thing to learn in the number 1 cutting ties section, but it went into all the others too, about making decisions, whether it's to cut off your friends, not cut off your friends, but to, quietly.
Friends inventory.
Yeah, it's your friends inventory. But I think they're all wonderful steps for us, and examples of what we can do that determine your success.
Yes. And again, as I have mentioned before, some of the topics that I go over, I'm kind of ministering to myself, right? I'm not perfect in all of them. So sometimes I do say, oh, you ought to practice what you preach. You went over that last week. And there is this property, this piece of land, that if I was to be really, really honest with myself, I have kind of fallen in love with it. And that's Deal 101, just education. Don't fall in love with the home, fall in love with the deal. You've heard that, right? Don't fall in love with the property. Same with the business. Fall in love with the deal. Well, there is this piece of property that, and I know I teach my clients, don't say that it's ideal. There is no ideal. There's always land. Kind of being like my clients, I really this land. And if you knew why I wanted the land, it's kind of for ego purposes. I mean, none of this is right. So I know what I'm doing. I know how to do this, meaning getting seller financing, and I know how to move them down the line. So I texted this woman I know. I don't think she's going to be on. Now, speaking of, you don't want to give away any of your trade secrets to people, and you don't want them to know your, as I've got right back here, your chess moves. So this isn't wise if this woman that owns this property was to hear this, but I'm doing it for all of you. She emailed me early this morning with this property and all of this great stuff and how things have gone up. I don't want to give away too much, but she's saying, look, here's the reason why it's worth the umpteen millions it's selling for. Here's all of this stuff. And I had a very early meeting with somebody, a new potential, just somebody that I've known for years. And he does like watching these. He saw him last Friday. So, Stephen, if you're watching this, I'm happy to talk with your son on this. So here's what happened. Right before he came in, I texted her or emailed her. And she's telling me about the property. And I was tempted to say, great, awesome. Let me know next time you're in South Florida. Let's get together for a cup of coffee. Or other times I'll text her and say, let's get together at the Biltmore. Drinks are on me. It's not going to bring it closer. That's not, no. So she sent me a long email with an attachment of how awesome this property is and why it's now worth this amount. And I thought, do not go there. Do what you would recommend for your clients to say. And I am going to put my cheaters on, and this was beautifully written. I said, thanks that you took the time to break this down with such clarity, especially using a conservative 10x multiple, which is not conservative. This speaks volumes about your experience in the space and gives me more confidence in the asset. So after all of that, did not lie. She does know what she's talking about. I said, that said, and I share this with full transparency, I tend to structure acquisitions differently than most. As you may recall, I specialize in strategic roll-ups and long-view capital structures, particularly for undervalued architectural or agricultural and energy-producing assets. I'd love this. I'd love it with the other, for this too, this thing that I'm wanting to do, the
Yes.
rail van thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love it with this. So how did I conclude? I said, I explained we've got to do the seller financing. So then I said, I lean towards engineered transitions that reward the seller while allowing the asset to fund its growth. And then I said, I completely understand your initial lean towards a traditional upfront exit, which she ain't going to get. But out of respect for what you're building, and because I know how rare it is to find someone who understands both land and commodity logic at this level, I'd be open to continuing the dialogue, even if it's not an immediate fit. Why did I say that? She's had it for sale for a while. I want her to keep going through some no's. That's the goal. Even if it's not immediate fit, I said, so I find that some of the most fruitful deals come from taking a few extra beats to structure it right. Last sentence, I put, let's stay in touch. I don't want to close the door, right? I didn't want to say, if you can't do it, then just forget it. No, I didn't say that. Let's stay in touch and explore the possibilities of a structure that meets your financial goals while preserving the upside that is properly, clearly holds. So I think there was a lot that you were thinking there. What went through your mind when I was reading that?
Yeah, it's so well written that you address all of the points and you still make it sound like you're friendly and you're kind about your approach, and you are leaving doors open. You're also standing your ground. So love it.
There's just a few tactics that went through my mind. I really did begin by saying, awesome, great. What are you doing? That's not going to bring it any closer. What are you? right? That's what a novice would say. No, it's not awesome. It's not great. Oh, let's keep in touch. No, for what purpose, right? Each one of us only has so much time in a given day. This gal's wanting to sell his property for 10 million. Hey, you're not getting 10 million even if I had it. Okay? So the tactics, all I used, the first thing that came to mind, well, the first thing was awesome, great. I deleted that. And right then in my mind, I thought, NLP is what went through my mind, neuro-linguistic programming. Okay, say, I appreciate where you're coming from, and then bring her down through the line. Not manipulative, saying, well, then if you can't do it, forget it. I just said, if it doesn't align, then I understand. Then it's not a fit. Again, though, I didn't close the door and give her an ultimatum. I just said, I get it if that's not what you want and you want a traditional exit. And I also kind of explained on there, as you talk to other people, then let's have other conversations. The person that I had a cup of coffee with early this morning, I said to him, I'm going to even tell you what some of my tactics are. Speaking of my chess move, because he was telling me about this really big project that he has. And he's in a similar business as mine. And I met his son. My ex-wife and I got together with him maybe about 8 years ago. And I said, how's your son doing? Just connect me with him. And I'm serious about that. I would like to, because he was telling me about this deal. And I said, the first question I'm going to ask is, how long have you been seeking funding? How many people have you talked to? Can you guess why I asked those two questions, Tessa? Do you know what I'm hoping that they're going to say?
I think that you want them to get more no's, like you said.
That's exactly what I want.
But I was cheating because you did mention that.
But when did I say that? Once in the
Yeah,
past?
you said it, just mentioned it a little bit earlier today. So I was listening really well.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. I had a meeting with somebody last week that he asked for my advice. So he is kind of a broker. And he said, I don't seem to get anywhere. And I said, this person needs to go through more no's because they think that they can get 100% financing. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, well, they have had 2 banks say no. That's not enough. Mm-hmm. Because this person's obviously very stubborn. So I said, here's what he has to do. And I told him in the Zoom meeting, I want to hear, no. I want every bank to laugh at him. Mm-hmm. Then when he comes back, now he's willing to listen. So when he said, can I refer you to him? Not yet. I want to know that he's been beat up enough. Because, and I'm kind of complimenting this person, when I said he's stubborn, the nice word to say is he's strong-willed. Mm-hmm. I can already tell that he's strong-willed. That's great. That is an entrepreneur that I want to work with, but not yet. I want him to go through a few more. I want him to have more realistic expectations. I think that's enough on that one. Let's go. What other questions did you want to go over based on the 8 points? Anything that stood out that might be standing out to others as well?
I mean, obviously, when you say make progress visible, that was the only other one. What does that look like? Is that setting goals for yourself? Is that keeping track, like a habit type thing? What would that look like?
That can mean a lot. Mateo, who's started off as an intern with us, he's the one that brought in our most recent member at the Underground Club. It's a gentleman named Eric, and Eric works a traditional kind of 9-to-5 job. And when he's home, and he does get home at 5:30, he's already emailing me right away. I already got some from him already, right? Same with yesterday. He knows what he wants to go after. He's put together a little bit of an executive summary. Mm-hmm. And we're going to stay focused on that niche and not allow distractions.
Perfect.
What else? Anything else?
I think that's it. You did a great job explaining everything, so I didn't have a lot of questions.
Yeah. Before you close us out, just as something funny, you noticed that the other kind of cheaters that I told you that I had were different. color. I got them on Amazon, and I actually got two for $8.99, I think it was. So you get what you pay for. I kind of went like this, and one of them broke. The other one, the lens fell off. So on Saturday, there is this Barnes and Noble. It's actually right in front of the coffee shop that I go to. And I thought, well, it's a Barnes and Noble. They've got to have these reading glasses, right? So I walk in, and what's the first thing? Can I help you find? No, I don't need any help, right? I wasn't going to admit what I'm looking for. And I thought, maybe it'll be over where the front is, right? So I'm looking everywhere, and I do see this display. And I'm like, I hope nobody sees me here. And I'm looking, and on the cover right with the lens, it had 1.50.
Mm-hmm.
I said, $1.50? I paid $8.99 for these. Oh, I'm getting these. So I like, okay. And she says, that'll be $32 a book. Whoa. I said, I don't mean to sound cheap, man, but see right here on there, it says, it was a little sticker. I said, it says 1.50. How did tax now go from, what? She said, oh no, that's there's
Power.
1.5, yeah, or 2.50. So I thought, well, I could either pay $1.50 or $2.50. So then when she said, that's not the price, there were people behind me. I was like, I'm already embarrassed. I said, okay, just here's my debit card. So that's something I learned. I didn't know that. Would you have known what 150 meant?
I used to wear glasses though, so I am familiar just in how it's a scale, like how much magnification or how much correction it needs. Yes, but for most, like my parents, they just go buy one and they're like, this is giving me a headache.
What is 1.5? Is that?
It's not very high. So
thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say.
Don't worry. You don't have to. You're. I know it's funny how people are about the readers. I'm like, you just do what is best for you. It's better than holding the phone way out there, So.
And the person I had a cup of coffee with this morning is older than me, and I was showing him something on my phone, and he didn't have to any of this, and I'm like, how is it that you don't use these? And he goes, somehow it just happened. The older I got, it went away.
Yep.
You've heard of this?
Yes, your eye flattens out so it can correct things that weren't good before. So you can. Or if you had great vision, it can go to being a little bit more blurry. So
yeah,
but it's okay, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, because it's just you just need to be able to see, and everyone needs to be able to see.
Thank you. You see, you do wonders for my self-image. On that note, close us out of here like you always do, Tessa.
Absolutely. And if you haven't already, definitely hit the bell to get notifications when we go live. And Reagan's got more information for you all about the Underground Club. And you can reach out to him on his website. Fifth Avenue Capital website is 5THAAVC.com. You can click on the contact us button and get straight to get a contact form, to reach out to Reagan, or you can schedule a time and find out more about the Underground Club. Obviously it's growing, and we just want that. We will have a website soon for that. If you have any questions or anything that you want Reagan to go over on a future show, put it in the chat so that we can get those shows planned out. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.